Hello everybody, welcome to the 10 Cow Ranch. I wanted to do a little video tonight on these feedlot calves. I want to give you a little background on kind of the calf deal I do, or the cow and calf operation I have. So I have, right now, I named the channel 10 Cow Ranch because at one time I had 10 cows, now I'm down to 9, but small cow-calf operation. So you guys have seen my calves on some of these corn videos. I just fed them some corn. You can see them over there. They're having a good time with that corn. But I kind of wanted to just go over this and talk to you guys about some of my experience. So right now, I have the what I'm going to call the cow-calf operation. All of these calves that we're feeding corn are my calves. They were born here. We've summered them. I met these calves the first day they were born, and they're going to stay here until they go to processing. So that's one aspect of the cattle business. So I'll kind of talk about the language a little bit. So the cow-calf operation, typically a normal thing is they're born in the spring, we take them to the summer range, bring them home October, November, wean the calves, send the majority of them to the sale. Well, my operation is so small, I only sent 2 to the sale this year because I've got the other 7 in the feedlot. So between the time that they get weaned and the time they go on the corn ration, we call that backgrounding. And at that point, and the feed ration is super important. I can't stress that enough to you guys. So when they get off the mother cows and you get them weaned, they're just on a hay or grass ration. Of course, around here we raise quite a bit of hay, so they're on strictly hay. And at that point in their life, they don't gain a lot. It's stressful for them to be weaned. Sometimes they can get pretty sick. Of course, the wind's going to pick up. But they can get sick at times, and that's a stressful time. So they normally don't gain a lot at that point. So we're going to call that November. So we wean the calves. Now we're just got them on a straight hay ration. They get over the stress of being weaned. They're gaining some weight, not a ton at that point. And so now let's fast forward to February, which is where we're at right now. These calves probably average 700 or 800 pounds. My goal is to have them 11 to 1200 pounds at a time for process. So I get them on the corn ration. And I've had years that these calves have gained 3 to 4 pounds a day. And I have them on the corn ration, let's say for hypothetical, the first day of February till end of May. So that's 4 months, 160 days that they're on corn. And if they gain 3 pounds a day at 160 days, that's 400 plus pounds of gain. So if they're 700 pounds, they're going to be 11 to 1200. I've had really great success with that. So now let's talk about the corn ration. So here it is. November, they're weaned off their mothers. I free choice hay all the time. You guys can see, or you've seen when I feed those cows, you can see that manger. I keep hay in front of them all the time. That just works for me. Like I say, I'm such a small operation. For me, I'll feed these cows and calves, 2-3 times a week. So I don't have to feed every single day by keeping a free choice operation going. So now they're free choice on hay from November till February. And they're just growing slowly and kind of building their structure and their more bone, that type of thing. They kind of get their frame under them at that point. A little slower rate of gain, 1 to 2 pounds a day probably. And so at that point, now we put them on the corn ration. So there's been a lot of controversy with my little circle of people because the way I do it is I feed whole corn. And there's a lot of studies out there that the cracked corn, the rolled corn, the flake corn, a lot of different names for it, the cows process it easier. I'm not going to argue that one bit. They certainly do. And if I had 1,000 head feedlot, I would be feeding rolled corn for sure. I have had great luck with this because I feed them in those totes. You guys hopefully seen my Going to Green River video. In those, I call them a super sack. They weigh close to 2,000 pounds, 1,800, 2,000 pounds. I store it outside and I just cover them with a tarp. What I found is the rolled corn, the processed corn, molds a lot easier. There'll be enough moisture seep through the sacks that corn will mold. This whole corn does not mold. I have almost zero waste on this. I keep it on pallets, so it's up off the ground, feed the whole corn. And I've had, some other people say, well, geez, you look at the manure and there's corn all over in it. There's really not. You go digging through the cow manure, you can probably find a kernel corn or two. There's really not much. Some, yeah, not much. So now the process of feeding these calves corn, you have to really work them into it slow. I've got 7 animals here. I started out with two 5-gallon buckets of corn. Of course, they jumped in there, and some years they don't. It takes them a minute to get on the program that they're supposed to eat this corn. This year they just jumped right in and started eating it. Don't know if the corn's got a different moisture content or who knows what for sure, but so I went 4 or 5 days a week, 2 buckets of corn. Right now I'm on 3 buckets of corn. Next week I'm going to do 4 buckets of corn. And I've had many years that these calves will eat 1 5-gallon bucket of corn per animal per day. Holy smokes, that's a lot of corn. They do very well on it. That's the years they're gaining that 3 to 4 pounds a day on corn. So that's where I'm at on it. Right, like I say, right now I'm at 3 buckets of corn. Next week I'll go to 4, and probably a week or 10 days I'll stay at 4 and just keep working them up slow. I've been told, I don't know this for sure, that cows to bloat on the whole corn is less opportunity for them to bloat. I don't know that. I've lost a few. I've started a different vaccination program. I've been working with my vet because I've had a few 1,000 pounds of steers just keel over dead. Had no idea what was wrong with them. So talking to my vet, we've done a little bit of difference in vaccinations this year, so hopefully we'll have some better luck. So let's talk about the advantages of this. So these animals, like I say, they're mine. I was here when they was born. I've kind of been their caretaker their entire life. There's no antibiotics, there's no growth hormones, there's none of that on these animals. Do I feel like that I'm providing my family, my customers, a good, healthy, wholesome product? Absolutely I do. And that is worth it to me. So I have 4 adult children, all grown, all living on their own. And kind of the deal of being part of the Chris Evans Ranch is Dad provides all of their meat to all of them. I tell them, if you're going to the grocery store to buy your own meat, then that's your own fault because you didn't fill a cooler up last time you was home to visit. So I feel, as a dad, I take pride in that. Maybe I'm being too prideful, I don't know. But it just makes me feel really good to say, you know, you guys go to the grocery store, you know what the cost of beef is in the store. My children are getting their freezers full of beef every year just because they're part of my family. So take some pride in that. Maybe I shouldn't, I don't know. Anyway, something I'm proud of as an individual. So let's talk about if a small homesteader, doomsday prepper, whatever you want to call yourselves, and believe it or not, guys, I am that guy. I don't talk about it hardly at all on the channel, but I truly believe it is well worth everything to be prepared and be as independent and as possible. So talking to folks with small properties, if you're interested in raising your own beef, I'm going to say absolutely do it. And I'll kind of talk to you about it. I've done this most of my life, but I've just recently had the cow-calf operation. Pretty much, I think every corner of this nation, you're going to find some small beef producers or beef producers in your area. You reach out to them, ask them to buy a calf. You can buy the calf from them when they're taking them to the market, and buy a couple calves. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple things worth noting. If you're going to do this, I cannot stress it enough, you have to have 2 animals. Beef are herd animals. They do not do well by themselves at all. I've got 7 here, but if I was down to minimum numbers, I'd have a minimum of 2. And if you guys have been around cattle, you know that you get a cow by herself, it's like she is so anxious. She'll run through the fence, she'll run out on the road, she misses the open gate. She is so anxious by herself. There's been many times I've had one cow get out, I'll let the whole herd out, they get all bunched up, they get quieted down, put them back in the gate. So if you're thinking of doing this, 2 cow minimum, 2 calf minimum. You can have a very small place, and like I say, I've done this most of my life and never had until recently the cow-calf operation. And you get 2 calves together, and you can buy some hay, buy the corn, buy the grain locally, and talk to your local feed suppliers, talk to your local veterinarian. There's different parts of the country, they do things a little different than what I do here in Utah. So, but I'll tell you what, there is some satisfaction that you'll get no other place, knowing that you have a healthy animal that's going to be providing you meals You know, a half a beef for a normal family will feed for a full year. So if you're thinking of doing it, I can almost promise you that you talk to your friends, family, acquaintances, neighbors, and say, hey, I'm gonna raise a couple beef, would you like a half? You will find people. This year I've got every one of my customers are return customers. I have a small few of them that will buy a half a beef every other year, so that's why I'm a little bit down from, you know, I was 9 animals last year, I got 7 this year. So, but I can almost say with 100% certainty, if you reach out to your community, you will find plenty of people that will buy the beef from you. If you only need a half for yourself, yeah, buy 2 calves, buy a little stack of hay. And that's one thing I haven't talked about. The hay for these calves does not need to be fancy hay. The hay I'm feeding right now is rained on hay. So when you choose to do this, you talk to your local hay producers and you just find anything. It's essentially roughage. Most of their nutrients is coming from the corn and the grain product. You know, there's a corn barley mix. Like I say, there's so many different ways of doing it. I'm just explaining what I do, but it doesn't not need to be fancy hay. The rain on hay, and there's enough 2-string bale producers around that if you're a small operator and you don't have equipment like I do, you can just go buy a pickup load of small bales and come out and feed them and have great success with it. I have done that, like I say, many times. So anyway, we're gonna wrap up the video. Please leave some comments. If you have any questions, it's more than just comment. Shoot me an email. It's in my description of the channel. I'd love to answer any questions, but I'll tell you what, the way the world is right now, the more we as individuals can be independent and raise our own food, raise our own beef, I think the better off we're going to be as individuals. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for subscribing. We've had a pretty good jump in growth lately. I tell you guys thank you, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please take a minute and hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. We're going to call it a night.